That brother kind of saved my life.
Fat Joe.
Fat Joe saved my
What do
life.
you mean?
Brother. Mack 10 and them was like, man, what you looking at, homie? And he was like, man, I'm from Chicago. We look in the eye. And then, man, from that point, I know Mack 10, homie, went and got they thing.
Mack 10 wasn't just making noise in the rap game, he was feared. This man had a serious reputation for being a straight-up menace, and a lot of rappers knew better than to cross him. But the ones who didn't, they learned the hard way. One of them was Common, who messed around and nearly got stomped out. If it wasn't for Fat Joe stepping in, things could have gotten real ugly for him. Here's the wild part. Even Ice Cube's family wasn't off limits. Cube and Mack 10 were tight, but when Cube's brother-in-law allegedly tried to test Mack, word is, Mack didn't hesitate to put hands on him. That move almost messed up his friendship with Cube, but Mack didn't care. Respect came first. The fact that Mack 10 was seen as a problem in the industry wasn't shocking to anybody who knew where he came from.
I used to love it in 1994. You know, it was a story that I could tell about the evolution of hip-hop and the stages that I seen hip-hop go from just the pure innocence.
He talking about this girl that he was in love with. You know, she's supposed to be hip-hop, and he's so in love with her. But when she...
He grew up in a tough spot in Inglewood called Queen Street, a place that's known to be the heart of the Queen Street Bloods. Just being from there meant you were connected to gang life, whether you chose it or not. Even if someone tried to stay out of trouble, it wasn't that easy. The drug game was booming, and that made everything way more dangerous. The streets were on fire. Violence was everywhere, and gangs were clashing left and right. Back then, LA County was one of the most dangerous spots in the country, and Mack 10 was right in the middle of all that chaos. Just a kid, watching it all go down. But like a lot of kids growing up in tough hoods, Mack 10 had dreams bigger than the block. He didn't want to be stuck in the streets forever. At one point, he even dreamed of going pro, playing sports and making it to the NFL. That NFL dream, yeah, that didn't pan out. As Mack 10 got older, his path started to shift. By middle school, the streets and music were pulling him in a whole new direction. Hip-hop grabbed him hard, and with so many folks in his hood already deep into the rap scene, it was only natural he got swept up in it too. It was everywhere around him, all day, every day. So when did rap become the main focus? Around the time Mack 10 started getting serious about music, he looked up to legends like NWA, especially since they were repping gangster rap and telling raw, unfiltered stories that hit close to home for him. He started developing his own sound and eventually joined a local rap group called First Amendment.
King T from the West.
Yes,
and somebody said, yo, Cube, this you on this song. So we playing the song, and I'm listening. I'm like, damn, this is me. And King T was like, nah, he ain't this you, he ain't this you. I'm like, this is me.
That was his first real shot at making noise. It gave him a space to speak his mind, sharpen his bars, and get a real feel for what the rap game was all about. Once his name started buzzing in the local scene, doors began to crack open. One of the first major people to show him love? None other than Eazy-E from NWA. Eazy saw that spark in Mack and even had him pen a few records. That cosign gave Mack 10 a serious boost. It made people pay attention. Through those early connects, he linked up with some powerhouse names like DJ Bobcat and DJ Pooh, both already legends in their own right, and those relationships eventually brought him face-to-face with Ice Cube's crew, the infamous Lynch Mob. Before long, Mack 10 found himself in the studio with Cube, and the chemistry was real.
Had a record, man, that was a killer. And then we ended up having this summit with Farrakhan.
They started laying down tracks together and building a solid musical connection that would shape Mack's future. Mack 10 and Ice Cube got even tighter once Mack hit the road with the Lynch Mob. Touring with Cube gave him major exposure, and he kept dropping verses on Lynch Mob records. Then came a big moment in 1995. Mack 10 landed a spot on the Friday movie soundtrack, which was a huge deal back then. Cube wasn't just a mentor, he was a major plug. He helped Mack lock in a deal with Priority Records, officially launching him as a solo artist and putting him on track for a serious run in the rap game. But that loyalty came with a price. Cube's backing brought Mack 10 into the middle of some heavy rap beefs, starting with Common. On September 27, 1994, Common, who went by Common Sense back then, dropped a track that shook the culture. I Used to Love HER became an instant classic and stirred up real drama in the game. The song was deep, Common used a metaphor about a woman he once loved, but it wasn't really about a girl. The her in the song was actually hip-hop itself. He told a story of how hip-hop went from being something pure to getting caught up in the streets and commercialized gangsta vibes. The East Coast loved it, especially since they weren't feeling his debut, Can I Borrow $1? But while the storytelling got praise over there, folks on the West Coast weren't exactly clapping. To Ice Cube, it felt like a slick shot at West Coast rap, which was dominating the charts in the 90s. He didn't take that lightly. Tension started brewing, and then came the spark. Common heard from folks in the industry that Ice Cube had clapped back. It was on Mack 10's track Westside Slaughterhouse, featuring Cube and WC.
We out here chilling, man, just celebrating, glad to be finished the album, the movie, and everything. We got a little free time, so me and all the Uber.
And according to King T, Cube's verse was a straight response to Common's song.
We go to the commercial, and he started, basically staring down Mack 10, just giving the grilling him. Mack 10 and them was like, man, what you looking at, homie? And he was like, man, I'm from Chicago. We look niggas. And then, man, from that point, I know Mack 10, homie, went and got
That's when Common decided he wasn't going to stay quiet. He fired back with a diss track. And just like that, the beef between Common and Cube's camp was officially on. Common didn't hold back. He came out throwing lyrical punches. With bars like, went from gangsta to Islam to the D of Das EFX, he straight up called out Ice Cube for switching sides, acting like he was down with the East Coast, then turning around and dissing it later. Then he went even harder with, hypocrite, I'm filling out your death certificate, taking direct shots at Cube's past and throwing in wordplay linked to Cube's classic album, Death Certificate.
a little more too after that, just agitating the situation. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, Fat Joe said, Ross, man, your man gotta go. He gotta leave.
And when Common spit, flinging bean pies and St. Ides in the same sentence, it was a sharp jab, accusing Cube of promoting Nation of Islam values while still pushing the street image and alcohol culture. That one stung. But the real mic drop? Common used Cube's own legendary lyrics against him, flipping Cube's words to throw it right back in his face. Now, that shook things up, especially since Cube had always been seen as one of the coldest battle rappers in the game. His brutal takedown of NWA with no Vaseline was iconic. Cube had the kind of rep that made people think twice before going at him. As Doug Infinite said, if you're going to come at Cube lyrically, you better come with it or he's going to body you.
Left, but my man came back and busted some windows.
This dude's wildin'.
So then I'm like, bro, why you do that? So then they like, Ross, we're gonna have to get your man. They roughed him up a little, but it wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing.
In Common, he came with it. Ice Cube later admitted he had a diss track locked and loaded, ready to respond. But fate had other plans. Between the growing tension in hip-hop, the tragic deaths of Tupac in 1996 and Biggie in 1997, the culture was in mourning. That violence was hitting way too close to home. So on April 3rd, 1997, less than a month after Biggie was ended, Minister Louis Farrakhan stepped in and hosted a peace summit at the Nation of Islam's HQ in Chicago. It was historic. Some of the biggest names in the game came together, including Common and Ice Cube. And right there, at that summit, the two squashed the beef. Officially. But just because the figureheads made peace doesn't mean everybody else let it go.
High song, yeah, we gave that up already. Why? No. The throw your set in the air thing. I said, no, we didn't give him that. It was, well, that's in his chorus in his song. Finally, I hear it, and sure enough, there it is. The same. It's like some of the words are changed around, but for the most part, the chorus is the same.
Tension still bubbled in the background, especially in their crews. That became real clear a year later when Common and Mack 10 both landed on the same set to film a Sprite commercial. The campaign had rappers from different regions linking up: Fat Joe, Goody Mob, CeeLo Green, and more. It was supposed to be a simple shoot based on Voltron, where each MC repped their region like superheroes. But the vibe turned icy fast. Someone in Mack's circle wasn't over what went down with Cube, and that energy was heavy. One of the guys just straight up dipped and caught a flight back. The whole thing could have gone left quick. Common later came clean. He still had hard feelings over the past drama. So when a member of his crew came face to face with Mack 10 on the Sprite commercial set, things got heated real fast. According to Common, his boy locked eyes with Mack in a serious stare down, no words, just pure tension in the air. Now Mack 10, he wasn't the type to let stuff slide. He saw the challenge and stepped right up. Doug Infinite, who was part of Common's inner circle, backed the whole story. It wasn't low-key either. Doug said Mack wasn't having it and told the guy straight up, "You'll lose here." That was Mack's way of saying, "You might talk slick in Chicago, but this is LA. We play different out here." What started as just some sharp words quickly got out of control. Mack's bodyguard tried to cool things off, but Common's guy threw gas on the fire by calling Mack Whack 10 to his face. That was the last straw. Mack was clearly done with the back and forth and sent one of his crew to the car to grab a weapon. At that point, it was about to go way beyond rap beef. Things could have turned deadly. But that's when Fat Joe stepped in, again. Like a real peacemaker, he calmed everybody down just in time. For the moment, things cooled off, but the fallout came quick. Common's crew member got kicked off the set immediately, but instead of walking away, he took things further. He reportedly went outside and damaged Mack 10's car.
Lines that were the same things I used on the Temple of Boom record. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, that's my line. In my opinion, I felt like he saw my reaction, and I walked out of the room for a second to make a phone call. When I came back, the line was gone.
Word traveled fast, and soon Common was hearing that Mack's crew was planning payback, not just for his boy, but for him too. Once again, Fat Joe had to step in to keep it from blowing up. His influence smoothed things over temporarily, but the warning still came loud and clear. Common's guy got roughed up by Mack's people as a message: "Don't mess with us." And just when that chaos cooled down, another storm was brewing with Cypress Hill. The drama kicked off around the Friday movie soundtrack, which Ice Cube had put together. One of the standout songs was Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up by Cypress Hill. The group had agreed to drop that track for the film, no issue there. But according to Be Real, one of Cypress Hill's main members, the real tension started when Cube heard something else during a studio session. And things started to go left. While checking out tracks for the Friday movie soundtrack, Ice Cube got an early listen to Cypress Hill's upcoming album, Temples of Boom. That's when they played him Throw Your Set in the Air, their lead single, and Cube was instantly hooked. He loved it and asked if he could use it for the Friday soundtrack instead, but Cypress Hill said no. Respectfully, they told him that track was locked in as the main single for their new album. Cube pushed a little, even asked them to run it back one more time. They did, but stood their ground. That song wasn't up for grabs. Fast forward a bit, the Friday soundtrack drops, just before Temples of Boom hits stores. One of Be Real's homies calls him up, sounding confused.
Be Real, Muggs, Sin Dog, nobody from Cypress Hill. And they was blood. But I was with this, so I didn't give a.
Did you let Ice Cube use one of your album joints for the movie? Be Real was thrown off. He told his boy the only track they handed over was Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up. But his friend wasn't talking about that. The track in question sounded way too close to Throw Your Set in the Air. At first, Be Real wasn't trying to jump to conclusions, but once he actually listened to Cube's song, his stomach dropped. The hook, almost the exact same flow, just a couple words changed. It felt like a straight-up rip. Feeling salty and blindsided, Be Real let his frustration out in the studio. And of course, word got back to Cube, through none other than Mack 10. Trying to keep things from blowing up, Cube called Be Real directly. He said it was all just a misunderstanding, tried to clear the air, and for a minute, it seemed like the beef was dead. But then Cube invited Be Real to the studio again, this time to lay a guest vocal for a group called CIN, who were signed to Lynch Mob Records. While there, Be Real heard something that made him freeze. Lines in a new track that sounded way too familiar. Almost bar for bar like lyrics from Temples of Boom.
Knocked him out, woke him back up, whooped on it. Somehow his chain fell in my hand. I don't know how it got in my hand, but it fell in my hand.
He was stunned. Was Cube really lifting from their music again? Be Real clocked it right away, and apparently Cube noticed the look on his face. Cube stepped out of the room for a minute, and when he came back, those lines were gone, cut from the song like they'd never been there. For Be Real, that moment in the studio was all the proof he needed. Ice Cube had been caught red-handed again. That was it. Cypress Hill had enough. Be Real went back to the squad, laid out everything that happened, and they all agreed. It was time to clap back. The crew dropped no rest for the wicked, a brutal diss track aimed straight at Ice Cube's neck. And they didn't hold back a single bar. But Ice Cube wasn't the type to stay quiet. He fired right back. Known for his savage lyrics and fearless attitude toward beef, Cube came back swinging. But this time, he wasn't alone. He brought Mack 10 into the mix, and the two of them dropped King of the Hill, a full-on diss track aimed directly at Cypress Hill. Mack 10, still early in his rap career, jumped in without blinking, even though he'd never personally met anyone from Cypress Hill. That didn't matter to him one bit. Loyalty came first, and his loyalty was to Cube, no questions asked.
Want to holler at you.
He asked me, so what's it going to take for you and Cube to squash this? I said, just like you, all he's got to do is call me.
And I explained to him where I was coming from. I don't got nothing to do with it, but that's my homeboy, and I'm riding with him. And he said, you know what, homie? I can respect that. I can't even be mad at you.
Even though Cypress Hill had members who were also affiliated with the Bloods, Mack 10 didn't flinch. His bond with Cube ran deep, and in his mind, it was ride or die. The beef kept growing, and it wasn't just about music anymore. Fans started picking sides, and other artists were getting dragged into the drama. The tension in LA's rap scene was already sky high, and this battle just added more pressure to an already explosive situation. While this was all going down, Cube had another mess on his hands, this one involving fellow LA artists Cam and Solo. They had been beefing with Cube over business issues behind the scenes. But things turned real when Cube and Solo ran into each other at a traffic light in LA. According to Solo, it didn't take long for things to pop off. He claimed he put hands on Cube and came out on top in the scuffle. But the wildest part? He somehow ended up with Cube's chain. And he didn't just keep it quiet either. Solo showed up to a Cypress Hill show at the House of Blues and held that chain high in front of the whole crowd. People went crazy, and a photo of that moment started making the rounds. It was everywhere. The tension between Ice Cube, Mack 10, and Cypress Hill had officially hit a whole new level, and there was no turning back. People started getting nervous that the Cube versus Cypress Hill beef was about to spill into the streets. The energy was getting heavy, and it felt like things could go way past music. Luckily, cooler heads stepped in before it reached that point. Just as it looked like everything might blow up, something unexpected happened. Mack 10 played a key role in cooling things down. According to Mack, someone passed him Be Real's number and told him B wanted to talk. Mack agreed to the call, and the two chopped it up honestly. Mack told Be Real straight up, his loyalty to Ice Cube meant he had to back him no matter what, even if it meant clashing with other Bloods. And Be Real, he respected it. He said he understood Mack's position and didn't hold any bad feelings toward him. That moment right there shifted everything. Mack didn't stop there. He managed to convince Cube to hop on the phone with Be Real too. The two heavyweights finally had a real conversation, man to man, and just like that, the beef was done. One of the most intense West Coast rivalries came to a peaceful end. But just when it looked like everything was finally chill, boom, a new feud sparked off, and this one was personal. Mack 10 and Ice Cube, the very duo who rode for each other, started beefing themselves. The drama would eventually destroy Westside Connection and lead to a falling out so deep that the two didn't speak for decades. According to Mack, the root of it all was Cube's brother-in-law. In a now-deleted 2010 interview with All Hip Hop, and later in a 2020 sit-down with DJ Vlad, Mack broke it down. He said Cube's brother-in-law had been moving disrespectfully, and Mack tried to handle it the grown way. He went to Cube multiple times, 4 or 5 to be exact, asking him to step in and fix the situation before it got messy. "I wasn't trying to start anything," Mack said in the Vlad interview. But after being ignored again and again, things started to boil. And that's when cracks in their brotherhood began to show. If you pull someone aside 5 different times before things pop off, that shows you were trying to keep it cool.
Violation that can't be overlooked.
No problem with Mack.
Mack 10 said he gave Ice Cube more than enough chances to step in and handle the drama before it got ugly. Nobody wanted it to go that far. But even with Mack trying to play it diplomatic, the situation exploded. It eventually led to Cube's brother-in-law reportedly getting laid out, and that was the last straw. After that, Mack and Cube's relationship was done. Over the years, Mack 10 has been real vocal about the situation. In several interviews, he's made it clear he didn't think the beef between them should have destroyed Westside Connection. In a sit-down with All Hip Hop, Mack looked back on the fallout, saying that, to him, the whole thing wasn't serious enough to end what they had built together. Basically, I didn't do anything to him and he didn't do anything to me, Mack said. We had an argument and I guess it was taken the wrong way because his wife was present. If she wasn't there, we'd probably still be doing records. Mack even gave more context to what really caused the rift. He said the root of the drama was Cube's brother-in-law, who Mack described as flat-out disrespectful. According to him, he raised the issue with Cube multiple times, 3, maybe 4 times, before things finally blew up. It was brought to Cube multiple times before the bull happened, Mack said. I don't know what kind of dude he is now, but back then, he was disrespectful. Even though things didn't end well, Mack 10 has been open about the regrets he carries. In a 2011 interview with Vibe, he admitted he didn't know if he and Cube would ever speak again. He's echoed that same feeling in later interviews, saying that while he doesn't hold any grudges, it still stings how everything fell apart. Adding another layer to the drama, there's been talk that Mack was also upset with Cube for backing out of a second tour to promote Terrorist Threats, the final Westside Connection album. Whether that's true or not, one thing's for sure, what started as a brotherhood turned into silence, and the group never recovered. Terrorist Threats ended up being Westside Connection's last project, and even though neither Mack 10 nor Ice Cube has ever directly addressed all the rumors, fans have their theories about what really caused the split. Ice Cube has stayed mostly silent about the breakup, but when he has spoken, his words have been sharp. In an interview on It Is What It Is with Cameron, Cube was asked straight up why he only performs with WC and not Mack 10. Cube didn't dodge the question. Nah, we don't get down like that, he said. It's just me and Dub. And when they pushed for more, Cube added, yeah, it's a problem. It's a thing where it's just a violation that can't be overlooked. He didn't go into details, but you could tell whatever happened left a mark. Mack 10, on the other hand, has kept it respectful but honest. In a 2023 interview with Bootleg Kev, he addressed the situation again. He made it clear. There's no hate in his heart, but he's not rushing to fix anything either. He's moved on. For fans of Westside Connection, it's a hard pill to swallow. The way Mack 10, Ice Cube, and WC bounced off each other on classics like Bow Down and Gangsters Make the World Go Round, that magic was rare. Their chemistry was unmatched, and seeing it fall apart like this still stings for people who grew up on their sound. But as both Cube and Mack have said in their own ways, the damage might run too deep. What once looked like an unbreakable brotherhood has become just another page in hip-hop history, sealed and shelved. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to share it with your people, especially the ones who love that old school West Coast heat. We'll catch you on the next one.